season favorites, the Schefter series, where Adam rounds up some of the biggest questions NFL squads need to answer before next season. Today, Schefter addresses the retirement of Aaron Donald.
Here's how dominant Aaron Donald was and the hole he leaves the Rams to replace.
Aaron Donald is the best defensive player.
He's a guy that's played the game at a very high level.
Pressure in his face. Aaron Donald rips him to the turf.
Aaron Donald into the backfield.
Oh my God!
You can't stop him. He's a machine.
And he is the effing man.
Donald and Barry Sanders are the only players in NFL history to play at least 10 seasons and get selected for the Pro Bowl in every one of those seasons. Detroit struggled to recover without Sanders, and the Rams are trying to ensure they won't do the same.
Aaron Donald did a great job of making sure that the guys that were behind him and the guys that were with him were ready.
And we set the tone from the first play to the last play. Let's go. We do that. We dominate. We win this game. Let's go.
They'll count on Kobe Turner and Byron Young, the only two rookies in the NFL last season, to each register at least 8 sacks to help. And then the Rams use their top 2 picks on a pair of former Florida State teammates, Jared Verse in round 1, Braden Fisk in round 2. For now, it will be up to all of them, as well as a rebuilt power running game, to help mitigate the loss of one of the greatest players in franchise history. And the Rams haven't ruled out the idea of approaching Donald late in the season about returning for a potential playoff run.
Maybe we'll see if he gets that appetite later on.
But they'd have to make it to that spot, that far, for it to gain any traction, and for that to become an LA story.
Like that little spice at the end there, Adam. Boog, Donald's gone for now, right? Raheem Morris was their DC. He's now the Falcons head coach. What do you think this Rams defense looks like this year?
Yeah, well, it's going to look like a bunch of new faces. That's number one. But they're going to have to kind of reinvent themselves, and they're going to have to do it with some rookies. A couple of guys that Lewis and I talked about on the desk for the NFL draft, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, 2 young guys. You put them in there with Kobe Turner. They're going to rely on young guys up front and for a defensive coordinator to create one-on-ones and create mismatches, whereas in the past, you could line up Aaron Donald anywhere on the defensive line, whether it was in or tackle, and he could create his own mismatch. So I look for these young guys to step in and kind of take their next step forward. It's going to take some time because there's only one Aaron Donald. I think he's a top 3 defensive player ever in this game. So you're not going to replace him, but you're going to have to allow these young guys time to develop. And they drafted 2 guys pretty good. Fisk I love, and Jared Verse more of a power player. 2 guys that I think could take the next step from college into the NFL and kind of bring their game to the forefront.
Yeah, Boog, and that reinvention, or I guess we should just say, like, how do things take the next step, is really being entrusted to a guy who's been there for a while, been there 8 seasons, a guy by the name of Chris Shula, the new defensive coordinator who has coached linebackers, he's coached secondary, and he really is someone who has earned Sean McVay's trust. And Sean has a heck of a track record now of finding defensive coordinators and having them have a lot of success under him, whether it be in the beginning when it was with Wade. He found Brandon Staley, then he brings Raheem in. 2 of those guys became head coaches, and now Chris Shula is the next one. But as far as, the players are concerned, let me just say this real quick about Aaron Donald. No one has had a more perfect career than Aaron Donald, other than Barry Sanders, right? Aaron Donald was the perfect NFL player. I spent some time with him, right this year before the draft, and it's amazing when you're around the guy just how good he makes you feel and how you don't even realize you're in the presence of one of those truly, truly transcendent individuals. And you can't replace that. You simply can't. He was too good of a player and too good of a person to replace. But they have done a heck of a job of drafting, man. Braden Fisk, you're right, Boog. We talked about on the night of the draft. He is a foundational player. Jared Verse is a foundational player. That's what they did at Florida State. And remember this name too, Cameron Kitchens, who they drafted out of Miami. He is going to be a superstar as a safety, an absolute superstar. They're in good hands, but Aaron will be missed.
Lou, do you think you could see Donald coming back like Adam was alluding to there, maybe in the playoffs? Oh. I guess we lost Lou. Okay, well, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or maybe that's the answer.
Were you asking me?
I was.
You all right, Lou?
You just
right?
talked to him.
I'm sorry. You know what? I don't honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah.
When I saw him at the Pittsburgh game this past summer, I asked him, I said, how did you know? He said, I just don't have the energy, the commitment to put into it. He said, I'm full. I've done everything I wanted to do. I remember when he was a rookie, I remember interviewing him and asking him, what are your goals? And he said, I want to be the best of all time. And at the end of his career, heck, year 2 or 3 of his career, we were already talking about, is this the best defensive tackle of all time? And then near the end of his career, we're talking about, is this the best defensive player of all time? What else is there left for him? He seems so happy and content, and he still looked like someone, if it was third down, would go out there and whoop 99%
right.
of the guards. So, I mean, who knows? But I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
First of all, I'm thrilled that Lou is back with us. Felt like a moment
we lost him for a
there
minute.
For a second. But second, look, first of all, you talked about, Lou, about the idea of trying to replace Aaron Donald, how you just can't do that. But we can look at the draft, as you mentioned, some of these foundational players, and look exactly at what they did. It is so clear what it takes to try to replace a guy like Aaron Donald. Look at the positions next to the first 6 picks of the Rams draft. There is one offensive player on that list. Otherwise, this is a team that understood we've got to load up. We've got to find the type of pressure, at least in some sense, of what Aaron Donald provided. It's going to be very difficult, but they very clearly are pushing toward exactly that.